I'm here to introduce Eric Ruchstuhl, who has been here before, but I'm not sure how long ago, but then a while. And he works in invasive species removal. And his slides today will be about one, he's having two little shows presentation. One is from Bayou to the Hills, which will talk about his, I think it's mostly tallow tree removal.
No, it's hundreds of species.
Okay, all types of species. And the other one is something new. He has mapped the lost palms of Texas, which I have.
Sabal mexicana, Texas
Yes.
palms in places we never dreamt of.
Okay. They're way south of.
Thousands of them.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting. But Eric is a native Houstonian and has lived in Cyprus with his wife and two sons for 27 years. His company, EBR Enterprises, has been involved in habitat restoration for 30 years and invasive plant removal for over 25 years. He is a fluvial geomorphologist and a native plant and wetland specialist. He is also licensed herbicide applicator with aquatic and land management certifications. So we want to welcome Eric back after many years. And he is going to present the Bayou to the Hills as his first presentation.
Well, really, thank you for having me here. And it has been many, many years since I've been in here. I've normally been in the audience, of course. So let's see if I can do this right. From the Bayou to the Hills. Basically, what I mean by that is I kind of started with environmental restoration in the bayous, and then later in time, I've been up in the hill country a lot. We've been restoring the San Marcos River now for 11 years and the Comal River for 7. And of course, I work in different areas. We work on the Katy Prairie. We work on different bayous and creeks all over Houston. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, so Houston, Galveston area, we've done some work as far as High Island, lots of areas around Spring Creek, Cypress Creek, Buffalo Bayou, White Oak Bayou, Herman Park, lots of different places. In the San Marcos area, New Braunfels, we're working on the areas that I mentioned, but I've also worked in Seguin on Walnut Branch. And we have in the town of Fentress, we have a family property of 11 acres that I've been trying to restore as well. This is the chemical use and application plan. And over the years, we've changed the type of herbicides that we use. I have never liked herbicides to begin with, but all of the ones that I use now are safe for aquatic or for upland. And you have a lot less petroleum distillates and things in there, and they're much safer. They're much more expensive, but that's what we've been using. And now the newest herbicide that we use for elephant ears is one of the safest herbicides around. Clearcast has very much less restrictions and literally just starves the plant as opposed to hurting non-target plants. And then the bottom 3 paragraphs are basically our techniques for things like invasive exotic trees and shrubs. We will cut them down, but we don't cut them to ground level. We put them a little higher. We scrape the cambium layer and then take the bark off, which get to the cambium layer including the roof layers, and then we treat with a herbicide. The herbicide mix is actually half strength from what it was a few years ago. After we kept experimenting, we realized we could have it even weaker. So okay, so of course I can't see all of those, and I keep thinking of other ones that I've missed, but these are the ones that most of the ones that we go after. Chinese elms, which I know Linda really likes that plant, but no, she doesn't like that one. Catclaw vine, which is over here in the Hog Bird Sanctuary, still in different places, just smothers trees. There's basically 3 pages of different plants. And one interesting thing about this, I didn't, there's been a, what's it called? The red tip photinia, there's one in San Marcos. I just couldn't figure it out. And from doing this thing, I figured out that it was Taiwanese photinia. So I'm still learning species, all the time myself. But I'm sure there's at least another 25 that we've gone after over time. Okay, work areas. These are work areas in the Houston area. You see a number of parks that I'm sure that you've been to: Bain Park, Briar Bend Park, Bud Hatfield, El Franco Lee, the Bayou Reservoir is one of the newer places that we're working. Also at Indian Grass Reserve, Kickarillo Mission Preserve on the bottom is a new project that we're doing. It's actually funded by the Native Plant Society of Texas Houston chapter. In fact, we even worked today and worked on about another acre of Chinese tallows. I got stung yesterday, but not today by bees. So, there's even some more. So Woodland Park is on there. Terry Hershey Park. Terry Hershey Park, I really never made it past Derry Ashford, but we did get rid of all the invasives from both spillways all the way down to Derry Ashford in the past. Tice Attaway Nature Center, that's a park up in Tomball. So I mentioned Briar Bend Park. That's one of the earlier restorations that we did. It was working with the Bayou Preservation Association at the time, and we did restore everything there. Also the tributary, the Harris County Flood Control tributary that comes in, and then the townhomes on the left, on the bottom, they joined in, and we worked over there in front of their place too. It's held up pretty well. We haven't done mop up in there for years, but every time I've gone, it's still holding up relatively well. And I don't have maps for every one of the parks. It would be too many slides, but Challenger 7 Memorial Park was the last project that I've done with Bayou Preservation Association, and that's approximately 80 acres. And that was a real treasure to work in there. I was able to drive in areas that other folks can't drive. There's deer just everywhere in that place, but it really deserved some help. It's just beautiful old oaks and all sorts of rare native plants are just getting smothered out. Hogbird Sanctuary around the corner. Lots of elephant ears and golden rain trees and lots of things in there. And I worked in there maybe 10 years prior to this last time. A couple of years ago, we worked in there, but all of that was restored at least once. Thomas Bell Foster Park on Greens Bayou. The wetland on the right, we've hit elephant ears a few times in there, and then the other areas are mostly forested. There's Indian Grass Preserve. I'd like to say that I've worked on every bit of that. I've been through parts of every bit of it, so that's how I did the map. But the Bayou Reservoir is the area up on the top left, and we work on the trails, the access trail and the levee, and getting rid of giant reed and Chinese tallow and things. And of course, all over the Indian Grass Prairie are different pockets of Brazilian vervain and Old World blue stem and Vasey's grass. This is the new project that I was just talking about, the Kickarillo Mission Preserve. The red is where we've completed, but if you look at the wooded area at the top above the lake, we've now done a quarter of that. As of today, we did a quarter of that. We're going back tomorrow to try to finish more. So many years ago, I used to lead inmate crews. These are not the first ones we had. I had regular Harris County inmates. I've had City of Houston probationers in the past, state, and then we had what was called the Clean and Green Inmate Crew. If we don't have them anymore, but it became the Harris County Inmate Community Work Program. And this was in Terry Hershey Park, close to El Ridge, and we went through just everywhere, getting litter out of the Turkey Creek and Buffalo Bayou, and then getting rid of so many invasives. That's an area deep in Challenger 7 Memorial Park back in 2021 with Corey Hills and Jimmy Ripperger. And you can see all the stumps leading off. They're just tallows in the middle of nowhere, and it's a great pleasure to get them out. There's the Tice Hathaway Nature Center over in Tomball. Another area very hard to get to, but once we got back there, we were able to cut out the tallow and treat them. So there's just the entryway to the Abear Reservoir. It was just covered in China berries, and the pathway needed a little bit of trimming. But that area is getting better and better. And we just had the SEA crew out there recently, and they did a lot of work. Okay, so I'm bad about getting before and after pictures, but I actually have one this time. So that's a Kickarilla Misher, and it's a really nice trail that goes along the lake, and it's mostly native to begin with, but the tallows were coming in, and this view was kind of ruined. So we took them out and scarred them up and treated them. So every one of those stumps that's blue like that, it's because we scraped off the bark to that cambium layer to that extent. If I don't scrape it off, I won't spray that area, normally, unless I think it may still go through the bark. But you can imagine that the manufacturers say that you're just supposed to spray the top of these stumps. And I found a lot of times that the things just grow back. So we developed this. Really important to hit the root flares as well. All right, so there's the dreaded deep-rooted sedge at Indian Grass Preserve. We're still working on a lot of that, but we've gotten rid of a lot of it too. Okay, in San Marcos work areas, we go from the top up there by Spring Lake. We have a property where Sink Creek comes through. The city has an easement there, so I've worked on all of Sink Creek. And also Spring Lake is where the headwaters of the San Marcos River are. And all the way down to past I-35. And then we have another spot on the left down there that's Purgatory Creek. And when it's hot, it is like purgatory, but this has been 11 years of this, and I'm not the only contractor there. We have a Atlas Environmental who literally goes with spear guns and goes after Plecostomus and carp and things like that. And we have other folks too as well. They're getting litter out. So there's a real teamwork up there with the different HCP contractors. The EAHCP is the Edwards Aquifer Authority Habitat Conservation Project. And it was a way to try to improve the water flows and the rivers up there and get rid of the invasive exotic species and try to save the endangered and threatened and endangered species and all the natives. Of course, all the natives are threatened and endangered now, aren't they? So here's some elephant ears trying to come back in the wetland by the wetland boardwalk at the Meadow Center in San Marcos. And the water was only about 2 or 3 inches deep that day. It was very difficult to get the boat through there. I thought I was going to die trying to get out, but I did spray that, and it used to be so much more. I don't think you would have believed it. All right, so here's some Chinese tallow stumps, and Spring Lake is there, and then the escarpment for the hill country is right behind it with the hillside trails area. And we normally use the logs nowadays for erosion control. We'll make berms out of them. We've been having so much slash, though, we've had to haul it away with trailers. Of course, a lot of people find that out when you cut the trees and shrubs, all of a sudden you have all this horizontal debris. So, all right, so that's Corey Hills, the spring elephant ears. You can see how big they are. And that was actually an area that regrew. We'd already hit this one in the past, but if you don't get some of the runners that go right over the top of the mud, you can spray all the regular plants and not hit the runners and they come back. So mop up on elephant ears. And things like giant reed is just really imperative. All right, so there's Richard Cooper doing some graffiti. No, he's not. So that's the Taiwanese photinia that I was talking about. I didn't realize what it was, again, up until a few days ago. We knew it was some sort of a photinia. But we had maybe 7 or 8 of those there, and I found them in some areas at the Meadow Center as well. Okay, as I mentioned, giant reed, that's Sewell Park, right by the university, and this reed stand is just huge. It's at least 2 acres, and we've been hitting it now for a year. Every time I go up there, and we beat some of it up, and then I have to do mop up on whatever else there is, and we have to actually wait for the topsoil to erode just a little bit so that we can find the tuber and then whack the tuber with the machete. And that's when they really die, because they don't all die from us just cutting and spraying them. Some of them do, but the mop up is pretty intense. All right, so this is a property that we just call a railroad property at present. It's upstream of Rio Vista Park and downstream of the Sewell Park and City Park. And it's just full of ligustrum, lots of small ones, lots of big ones. So Kendall was the only one that had enough patience to go and cut and spray every one of those. So I don't really like to broadcast spray. I'd much rather do spot spray, even when it's that many of them, even when it's a stand like that. All right, there's Sewell Park. That's some umbrella sedge and some Vasey's grass. And the umbrella sedge I've been finding in more places, although when I hit it, it's normally gone, but we do find it. And unfortunately, it's still sold to the landscape trade, aquaculture trade too. Okay, so here's the area for the EAHCP in New Braunfels. It's all of the old channel of the Comal River, which is the more sinuous one going through the golf course. It's the newer one down by Land of Falls and the Wurstfest, which is basically the channelized section that's regrown. And then where it says Heidelberg Lodges up there, that's the upper spring run of the Comal River. And we also take care of Land of Lake through the whole park. And we've been there 7 years. So there's the escarpment on the other side. That's basically where the hill country begins. And this was just a huge tallow that we just kept cutting and kind of shaving it down and getting in the water to get it out. And we built berms all along the side of that with the logs. But this is one place the guys the crews don't mind getting in the water there at San Marcos. So there's a stand of elephant ears before I'd hit them up in the cove areas of the upper spring run. And there's springs bubbling up almost everywhere through these areas. In fact, the herbicides that I use, the Corps of Engineers actually adopted that for an area of the San Marcos River that they did. So same thing again, elephant ears, that's the mill race. That's the area that they used to take the water off for the mill. That's why they call it the mill race. But anyway, sprayed those elephant ears. Now we have 0 elephant ears here. I think I found 1 a month ago, but those are actually gone. All right, there's the newer channel, and that's where people tube. They start at Land of Falls, and they tube right by. And they ask us what we're doing, and I get to tell them what we're doing, and then they can't get rid of me. So there's some, that's a giant reed again. That site's pretty good. I only have 30 when we used to get 300, initially it was thousands. There's some Turk's cap and the yellow bells and different things. The deer eat a lot of stuff. So initially I used to plant more diverse landscapes up there, but the deer take out so much that we've kind of narrowed it down. But that area looks pretty good. And the railroad bridge, I have to actually go up and down the side of that to get these reeds, and they'll all be gone, but there'll be one way up at the top, and I have to go up and get it. So, and we've also gone from the bridge now into Hinman Island Park, and we're moving towards what's called the tube chute. The following year, we're gonna be on the other side where there's a private campground, and we're gonna get rid of the invasives there, which will give us a really interesting tubing ecological experience to where both sides of the river are restored and you're tubing for something really special. So that's another place just where up in the upper springs that with the elephant ears, that those are actually treated. And you can tell that I'm being very careful. There's not blue all over the place. Again, that's clear cast. The blue dye is just an indicator to see where we've sprayed. And the surfactant is also aquatic approved, and it helps it stick to the plants. Now, there's my son, Lucas, my younger son, and Spencer Schweimer at ligustrum. Look at the roots. And we scarred all of those roots and treated those. Otherwise, they just come back. And it's time consuming, but it's not as time consuming and costly as coming back to get the same plants over and over again. All right, so there's another before and after. That's my current worker, Jorge Martinez, taking out a tallow, and then you can see we have to scrape them and spray all those. And I believe that's a slide. But there you go. Any questions?
Did you by chance go back to those 3 pages that had the invasive plants and picture?
Sure.
Eric, do you haul off all of the giant readers around the donuts?
Yes.
Do you have to haul off every scrap of that?
We're ending up, I think we're gonna have to in some places because I'm running out of places in San Marcos to hide it. At Indian Grass, Abear Reservoir, we're having to put it off to the side of the levee, but there's not as much. But yeah, sometimes we are gonna have to take some of that away.
But does it resprout after you cut it?
Oh, yeah, we have
Yeah.
to spray it, and then
Okay.
the new thing we're doing is actually scoring the side of the plants a little bit and then spraying, and then later when I can see the tuber, I'll hit it with the machete. Okay, you wanted the species, right?
Yeah.
Or the, there you go. Make it that.
For scraping.
Machetes and axes, knives, whatever.
Just really just cut.
Okay.
Do you have a surefire way of identifying deep-rooted sedge?
I'm still working on that.
Okay.
We're still working on that.
Next. The next one.
Oh, next one, okay.
Send them some
That's-
pages.
And I did go through that and I found some things in there too, and reminded me some different things. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation for that.
How would you approach things like in your own personal yard, if we have like deep sedge or elephant ears pop up? They're very hard to get rid of.
So like small scale.
Yeah, small.
Small scale,
Yeah.
digging up is fine, weak herbicides, the scarring makes it where you don't have to use as much. So digging works a lot. Yes, I know it. And they're selling more of them and more types, and now they have one called California elephant ear that makes you think that it's native, and we need to get that stopped somehow, Well, I think we need more things like the sunshine ligustrum, instead of a regular privet where there's no fruit on it. We need thinking like that. We need sterile cultivars, and we need, you know.
That would be a good committee to start. with the name.
But also, the state independent society has a night program. about working with children. They have more meetings and like, and we don't have stuff.
That not be something we get with Paula about, is that not what I'm so sorry, I'm not in there with the climate justice, would that not be something to get with climate justice about? Yes.
You know, if you think about it, in the 1990s, they made Chinese tallow illegal to sell and transport. Then we got China berry, and then after that, I haven't seen anything for years. I mean, it was early 21st century on the China berry, and now nothing else. You know, I thought by now Nandina, something else, but nope. So that's it for this one.
But we do have a part 2 coming up.
My tennis is,
Yeah, and I'll do the best I can to. I can get around actually that out.
oh,
Do the best I can. Great. So, here's the second presentation. This is about Sabal mexicana, the Texas palm. It's supposed to occur from Nicaragua, and most people really think that it stops at the Rio Grande. And it really does not. So in the 1990s, a Professor Landon Lockett had proved that the palms did occur on Garcetas Creek, which is on the Jackson and is it Jackson and Victoria County line. Garcetas Creek runs into Lavaca Bay. And so the way that they proved it was that they found the LaSalle's botanist account of the palms occurring. So I was speaking to Landon in the early 21st century, and I ended up doing several expeditions for him looking for palms. But at the time, we were thinking that we were going to find something in between the Brazoria palms and the Garcetas Creek site. So after all the expeditions, I only found 2 palms. But fast forward to February of this year, I was speaking to a friend of mine, Michael Eason, who works at the San Antonio Botanical Garden. And we were talking about some canyons on the Rio Grande that have the word palm in them. And he said, you know, you can see palms from Google Maps real easy nowadays, Eric. And so I spent several months looking in different places. I did look again between the Brazoria palms and the Garcetas Creek site. Really didn't find anything. I found some escaped Florida sabals, I could tell. But when I started looking down the coast from the Garcetas Creek site, moving towards Corpus and beyond, it's pretty amazing what I found. I found in many, many streams, and they're always in unchannelized back 40 streams, I found a lot of Sabal mexicana. So the blue dots, look down at Brownsville, they go up 80 miles. That's accurate. That's what people have always said. But I'm going to see if I can navigate and show you some of these other areas. There's so many of them, I have to zoom in to be able to show you all of them.
This is the Houston area.
No, this is the Central Coast area moving on down. Bear with me, I really kind of need a mouse for this, but we're gonna do what we can do.
Is these little blue things a specific palm or a group of palms?
Sometimes it's one palm, but it's as many as 25 in some areas. So bear with me and I'll get better at this. Okay, So that's Key Creek. Now, some of these, I think, could also be the hybrid, the Sabal, Louisiana, which I found some of those that I'm pretty sure is Sabal, Louisiana. Let me see if I can zoom in to somewhere for you.
So have you visited these sites?
No, not yet. This is ongoing. So far, this is just mapping, but I was able to find Google Street images on a lot of them. And they're definitely Sabal mexicana. Also, Michael Eason and my friend Martin Simonton had some field experience, but in November, we're gonna go on quite a seed collecting spree. And this is again, just one of the streams.
Is there?
Well, there's not a dispute as to whether they're native in Texas. They were thought to stop at the Rio Grande. And there had always been rumors that they were in the Central Coast and they only thought it's the Garcias Creek site and a few of the, like the Aransas River, but that's not the case at all. Say that again?
Are they listed on Bonnet?
No, the BONAP only has a couple more counties than regular USDA plant database. A lot of this is completely unknown by the government botanist or any of us. I mean, I didn't know about it. And again, I'm sorry, I'm not going very quickly here. BONAP showed the president. There you go. There you go. Now you see him?
Yeah.
No, they. Now look, they're really big one here at the top. The group. That's just one of so many stands like this. Okay, so that's just Key Creek, and look at that. It goes all the way down. You see where it says right off cemetery, goes all the way down. And then the Guadalupe River, definitely found some as well. But I think that some of these may end up being the hybrids. And Artie Vines wrote about the hybrids being on Hog Bayou around the corner from them. So let me see if I can get you to another stream here.
Hybrid from a real one.
The hybrids are gonna have smaller seeds and they're not gonna get as tall. But they can be tricky. They can definitely be tricky. And of course, the Brazoria palm ended up being a hybrid of Sabal palmetto and Sabal minor. We thought for sure it'd be Sabal mexicana. So the Sabal Louisiana is not an official species, but I have one in my backyard that I got from Lynn Lowry, and it's got a 7-foot trunk. I really doubt that that's, a regular Sabal minor, in my opinion. Let me find that one. Oh, hey, that was no good. Oh. Did I knock it off? I did.
Maybe in a separate window.
That's okay, I go back. Sorry.
Yes, sorry, we don't have a mouse, maybe?
We can. You could use this mouse. Cause I got a mouse pad.
Do you want to use his mouse? He has a mouse.
I don't think it'll work.
Okay, it's just like a US. And while we're waiting for him to pull up the map again, he mentioned we do fund invasive species removal at Kikorillo Preserve. So if you'd like to donate, we have a donation jar back there. That's for hospitality, but you could leave it in there too, or you can also just write us a check to donate to those efforts. Or, just come see me if you'd like to donate to that.
I can, jump in for just a second, I'm sorry to understand my thinking. We set up a separate fund specifically for this project. So if you want to designate your money going to this. If you want to designate that your money goes, oh, thank you. We've set up a separate fund for this particular project. It's not a separate account in the bank, but it's a separate line item on the budget. So if you want to designate that a donation goes specifically to this project of removing invasive plants, just be sure to let us know. If you just take $5 and stick it in the donation jar, we will be very happy to have it, but it'll just go into the general fund. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I was just made aware that there is a mothing event at Deer Park Prairie this Saturday. So if moths and nighttime critters are your thing, show up at Deer Park Prairie this Saturday. All right, back at it.
The propagation come from the seeds going down the creeks, so that there'd be different areas.
Well, I think that what we're seeing is a number of these are remnant stands that are really coming back. And it could be argued, oh, well, they should be everywhere then, right? Well, I looked all the way up and down the Lavaca River. I went all the way up to Interstate 10. I never found any palms except in the sweet spot, you know, where they kind of occur, that 80 to 100 miles from the coast. That's it. And these are all streams where they just haven't been channelized. So without just going into this, where it says Welder Wildlife Refuge at 77, that's the Aransas River, and people knew about one or two there. But boy, there's a lot more. I mean, really a lot more. Let me see if I can actually do this without messing it up. All right, this is Chiltepin Creek, almost positive, it's Chiltepin Creek. Yeah. There you go. Right, there's 2 or 3 right here.
They're having to tell them the map that they're.
Well,
Mexicana. For those of us who don't know that.
yeah, it's not really that easy, but okay, see where that my cursor is right there, that's one. There's one here. They're not real easy to see. They jump out for me because I kept doing it every night, but here's a really big one here, a big one there.
Has there been any soil research on this? Why there might be in certain locations and not.
I was thinking of that too, that yeah, it probably is the soil. Okay, so look how many they're just everywhere. What's that? Oh, well, some of them are definitely gonna be volunteers, but all of these streams are so close to the Garcitas Creek site. And we knew that they were on the Aransas River. All these streams are very close to each other. This ranch over here has a lot of them. I mean, look how many there are. They just go on and on and on. It's past the point of being able to just say that they're escapees. You know, it's just way too many.
How far north along the coast have you looked?
I have from just Google Maps, I've looked at that 100 miles first, and then I went another 100 miles up. So I haven't found any palms in other areas, and there are palms planted in LaGrange. I mean, they should be escaping too, but they're not. They're only in these areas where the palms should have been in the Central Coast anyway. Anyway. And they're not super easy to see, but I mean, can y'all see them now that I pointed them? They also kind of have you can kind of see the brown fronds from the palms too. The Sabal mexicana has some dying fans on it. So, want me to try to do a couple more and then how we
Sure,
doing on
yeah.
time?
Are there any questions on Zoom?
Any questions? Yes.
So apparently they were much more abundant.
Oh, yes.
How do you count those?
There's several things going on. So this stream actually is very interesting case because I think it's Sinton, Texas. In the middle of town, there's one unchannelized stream. It's just full of palms. And then this downstream is back 40 of this same creek, and there they are. So Landon Lockett had discovered that they had been cut out for wharf pilings along the coast because the wood was so resistant to the salt water. So most of the big ones got destroyed. So then combine that with lots of channelization projects and a lot of mismanagement of cattle ranching and various things, development, you end up with a lot of them gone. But what's happened now is I think they're coming back. I mean, they're definitely coming back. So let me just find a couple more.
And Eric, do you have plans to ground truth what
Oh,
you
yes,
found on?
absolutely. In November, Michael Eason and Martin and I are going again. We're gonna find these and get seed from many of them.
Bob, are there questions on Zoom?
Let's see. Check. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Remember 25 years ago when they first made a big deal about finding them? So has there just not been a lot of research in all of those years?
Yeah, nobody's looked again.
Eric, can you repeat the question, please? We couldn't hear
Oh,
what she was asking.
she's asking that she remembered that 25 years ago, people found them, but what's kind of been done since then, people really haven't looked any further. They were thinking that we would find them between Garcetas Creek and the Brazoria Palm site. They were just looking in the wrong areas. This one is kind of mind blowing, how many there are here. Okay. Oh. That's a good one. All right, so this Sous Creek, which you can barely see it on the right, S-O-U-S Creek. It's an original stream. There's really not many roads that go around it. And it has these tributaries, Monkey Slough, which I'm still wondering why they called it that. Of course, we did have monkeys in northern Mexico at one time. Devil's Run is the other stream here. You can just see there's palms everywhere on this stream, just everywhere. This is only a few miles from the Aransas River where we knew we had a few, and there's even a few at the Welder Wildlife Refuge. This is the one I really wanted to show you anyway. So keep in mind that the blue dots are representing as many as 10 to 20 or even more palms. But I mean, what do you guys think? You think that's all escapees? I don't think so. It's too many.
you know, the history of the land, was it left alone for a number of years? Or is it just never been developed? or-
Yeah, they're unchannelized streams. They're in the back 40 of these ranches and different places. I did find some on the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge in Hines Bay as well. But the Seuss Creek population is the craziest one, and nobody's, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of botanists and commissioners and different people, and nobody knew about these. The government doesn't know about these at all.
You said you wanted to get seeds from them?
What's that? Yeah, we're gonna get seed, we're gonna, well, if these are all native like we think they are, the cold tolerance could be better. And the ones from Garcitas Creek, which were hard to grow, people have trouble growing those, but the cold tolerance is better. So these have got to be the same way.
Any questions on Zoom?
No, there was one question, somebody, and I answered it, that was,
I'll be done in just a second here. All right, as you can see, they go on down the coast. You see, they're all kind of in that same, they're all in that same area.
Keep going along with him. You're such a true.
as best as I can.
Do the landowners know what you found?
Only one or two of them, one of the cemeteries, that I. Oh, she's asking if the landowners know that I found these yet. No. I'm hoping that we can get some access to some of these places. There's very few places where we can access from a road. But I think this would be a very compelling case for us to save our streams, you know, in Texas, no more channelizations. So I have to think what got the name of this creek, let's see, let's see. Okay, so there's one picture, that's not a very good one, but that was one of the adult Sabal mexicanas there at, I think it's called Petronilla Creek. And what's surprising is how many. There's just so many of them in this area, and again, these represent more than one palm at a time.
And those all farms around it,
Say that
and
again?
all that clear land around it. are
Oh, yeah,
farms.
it's all, that's what I see in so many places is the stream is still there, but everything else near it is gone. Can y'all see those? How about now? That's even better. Look how many big ones there are. And it's a very sinuous stream. You can tell it's an original stream. It just, for some reason, is overlooked. Yes, sir.
Probably a lot more along some of those creeks and they told me they're full through.
I think that we've lost a lot of them. I think that it's only just now that so many of them have gotten big enough to see again too. I think it's kind of a situation where most of the adults were killed or whatever, destroyed in some way. And then the babies came back. It just took a while. So Alex, who works with the Coastal Prairie Conservancy, does ranch management. And she had told me about some palms down near Port Mansfield in the dunes. And I'm going to show you, you're not going to believe it. There's hundreds of these oak mott's. They're near the active dunes, but they're in oak mott's, just hundreds of oak mott's, and they're big. They're bigger. To me, they look bigger than the ones I found in the Rio Grande. The ones I mapped in the Rio Grande was just because it wouldn't have been quite complete without doing the palms that people knew about. Okay, let's. Right, so the lower line is the Rio Grande. Again, that's what most people even now think that's where the palms stop. But look at this. So that's just one mott, and they're just literally all over the place. Now, I will say that some of the literature that I found did mention that there were some on the King Ranch. I only found a few of them on the King Ranch. This is actually a little further south. But it just shows the magnitude of how we've overlooked this palm, or just when we've gone out, they've been small and we thought they were Sabal minor or something. I don't know. They go on for a little bit, don't they? They're just everywhere. And if you'll notice, it's at kind of an angle like that. I don't know what that means, but you were saying something about the soils earlier. It's got to be some things like that. So, anyway, that's about it. I mean, I found there are also some other stands. So the red ones, where they are known escape stands. So we have in Boston, we have Waller Creek. There's Sabal mexicana growing all over Waller Creek. We have a town close to San Antonio. I've forgotten the name of it right now, but they planted the palms in the 1800s, and now they're just all over the place. But they're escape stands. We do have in Quemado, Texas, though, we have some stands that we're not able to explain yet. They're 200 miles from the coast, not 80 miles where they're supposed to stop. They could all be escapees, but we just keep finding other ones. And we're going to do a lot of ground truthing on this. So far, it's been from things like realtor.com, where I got lucky and found some, or just, Google images. Again, this is just a beginning, it's just the beginning of mapping it. I need to go out and see what's going on with all these. But now the truth you'll see is that the palms do come up the Texas coast. I could see about getting a copy of this on the Native Plant Society's website or some way, a read-only copy, if you like. But thank you very much for letting me show you this. There might be some opportunities for field trips on this too. I would let you know, but I will most certainly let you know what we find when we start going out in the field.
There's a question from the virtual audience. Have you been able to go back to old satellite views to compare then and now? Because with Google, you can, for some areas, you can go back.
Yep, I found some where there had been bigger ones in the past, and I found some where there were none, and I found some where there were small ones. So I found a mixed bag on that. It wasn't totally definitive.
Yeah.
In the Quemado, Texas, on one of the canals, I found hundreds of palms now, but very few in the past. So they're spreading, and it's not something that people are knocking down anymore. I understand that when people try to burn them on cattle ranches, they burn for days, so they kind of leave them alone. Well, thank you very much.